This tutorial is for 4th grade, Module 5, Lesson 6. In this lesson, we're going to continue looking at different ways to show equivalent fractions. The directions for the first part say, decompose each rectangle into the number of pieces shown, write the equivalent fractions as both a sum of unit fractions and as a multiplication sentence. So if we look at the first diagram, it was originally drawn to show 2/3. So if you look at the whole was divided into 3 pieces, and then 2 of the pieces were shaded in. So there's my 2/3. We're given instructions to decompose those thirds into sixths. To do that, this dotted line was drawn across the middle. Now we have 6 pieces, and each piece is then considered 1/6, and instead of 2/3, I have 4/6. I'm going to show that decomposition below the diagram. So I started off with 1/3, and I broke it into 2 pieces, which are 6. Then I took the second third and did the same thing, broke it down into 2 pieces, each piece is 1/6. So 2/3 is the same thing as 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6, or a total of 4/6. That shows how 2/3 is equal to 4/6. And to show that as a multiplication sentence, I would say that 2/3 is equal to 4 groups of 1/6. Let's look at another example. Here I'm starting off with the fraction 2/5. The whole has been broken into 5 pieces. 2 of the pieces are shaded in. We need to decompose those fifths into tenths. I can do that by drawing a line across. Now I have 10 pieces. 4 of the pieces are shaded in. I'm going to decompose each fifth. So I started off with 1/5. Now I have 2 pieces. Each piece is a tenth. So instead of 1/5, I'll say that I have 1/10 plus 1/10. I'll do the same thing for the next piece. It started off as a fifth. Now it's 2/10. So I'll write that in the next group here. 1/10 plus 1/10. Altogether, that gives me 4/10. That means I have the equivalent fractions of 2/5 that equals 4/10. To write my multiplication sentence, I will say that 2/5 is equal to 4 groups of 1/10. I'm going to do the same thing here, but I'm not going to use the diagram. I started off with 3/4, and we need to show how 3/4 is equal to 6/8. So if I think of 1/4, if I divided the fourth into 2 groups, each of those groups would be an eighth. So 3/4 is equal to 1/8 plus 1/8, because that's the same thing as 1/4. And then another fourth would be equal to 1/8 plus 1/8. And then the third fourth would be equal to 1/8 plus 1/8. Altogether, I have 6/8. So my multiplication sentence would read 3/4 is equal to 6 groups of 1/8. So through the decomposition, we're again showing different ways to represent equivalent fractions.